箱。こんな感じ。
Since the East Japan earthquake, ChildFund Japan has been carrying out restoration projects for over 2 years. In its restoration activities, ChildFund Japan took a people-centered approach. What does people-centered approach mean? Ofunato City in Iwate Prefecture has a population of 40,000. The East Japan earthquake claimed 340 people's lives and 80 are still missing. In Ofunato City, ChildFund Japan undertook the project based on its 37-year history of promoting the healthy growth of children and development of self-reliant communities in Asia. Restoration projects began with participation in activities organized by the Ofunato City Disaster Volunteer Center. Management of the restoration projects was assigned to project manager Yoshikazu Funato. The first action taken was a door-to-door survey, finding out what circumstances the disaster-affected people are faced with, what their needs are, and what actions are required is the starting point for the restoration projects. For over 2 months, we visited temporary housing complexes to conduct interviews. As a result of the survey, the key problems faced by people emerged. One of the issues emerged from the survey was the disintegration of the formerly tight-knit communities due to the temporary housing placements. The parents felt they were not able to have their children play freely. The other problem was deterioration in the children's quality of life and environment. As many school buildings had been devastated by the disaster, the places and opportunities for children to learn and play had been lost. How could disintegrated communities be reconstructed? How to go about improving the lives of children? How to approach psychological care? Based on the people's voices, the policy on restoration projects was set. Let's look at benchmaking as an example of ChildFund's community building efforts.
私たちがベンチ作りで大切にしたのは Through benchmaking, we wanted to ensure the residents' participation and benches are handmade by them. Also, we focused on the process of benchmaking. Benchmaking aims to provide opportunities to conversation, but it is also aimed that residents would feel attached to those benches. Everything was done by hand, and no electric tools are used. This may be rather inconvenient, but creates an opportunity for a casual conversation. We believe it is through these words that people become connected.
To a cooler shade on a hot day. To a sunny place on a cold day. Handmade benches can be moved to facilitate socializing among the residents of temporary housing complexes. Now, let's look at collective farming as another example of ChildFund's community building efforts. A community farm was created in a corner of the Nagahora temporary housing complex called Yu Farm. The two Chinese characters used in the farm name were selected to symbolize the way people are connected and become friends. Yu Farm is a self-governing body consisting of residents in temporary housing who sow, grow, and harvest together. Farm members regularly meet face-to-face in their collective farming work and at meetings. Through these encounters, people who would not otherwise have known each other form a circle of trust. The joy of harvest and the joy of having friends to share the fulfillment. Farm members decided to divide the harvest among themselves and sell some of it to the residents. Vegetable seeds were purchased from the sales. The leaders of community building are the residents of temporary housing complexes.
やったことのない百姓だけども楽しいのはそこの百姓に行くとね全然最初は知らない人たちだったんだけどもみんな知り合いみたいになってね友達みたいになって
こういう引っ越ししてきた時にはやっぱり3日ぐらい皆さんって会うのも嫌テレビ見るのも嫌そしてるうちに声がかかってで行ってみようってそれで行ったんです。そうしたらもうね賑やかっていうかねお互いにあこういう何もあるんだと思ってね。
There was a need for a new community center as the temporary meeting place was short of space.
長洞地域公民館の引き渡し式にあたりまして一言御礼を申し上げさせていただきます。
ChildFund Japan aided the construction of the new community center, hoping to facilitate further interaction in the community.
本当言えばみんなに行き渡るような拡声器を欲しいんです。
なるほどね。
はい。あとは避難訓練もこれからするんですけれども。
This is Ms. Anjo, a member of the women's group in the Residents Association guiding the mayor of Ofunato City, who has just returned from the handover ceremony of the community center. This was a rare chance to appeal directly to the mayor on the challenges faced by the people of temporary housing. The enthusiasm of the women's group demonstrates the community members taking a lead role in the association's activities.
There were initially only 6 women who joined forces to construction of a community center. We all came to preparatory meetings voluntarily. I had noticed some came to all meetings with similar vision in mind. And a group of women eventually was established as Women's Group for Community Center Construction Project. As the tsunami was a matter of life and death, we are thankful our lives were spared from the tsunami. It had made me wonder what it is to make myself useful here at the temporary housing, and decided to join the construction project of a community center while taking care of my 91-year-old mother.
Ms. Kinno is also an active member of the Residents Association. The home of Ms. Kinno had lived in for many years no longer exists. After the disaster, she became aware of the kindness of many people.
川にはいっぱいタンスやら家の屋根やらゴロゴロしてるし。
In the river, we saw many furniture and roofs. As we were walking down the road scattered with many debris, we met this old lady. She asked, "Where are you from?" "Oh, come and have some of these and eat," and handed us pieces of cut sushi rolls. I don't know how she managed to cook with no electricity, but whenever I receive goods from those who support us, I always write thank you note and share this story. It always makes me realize how warm people can be.
These flowers are brought from Ms. Kinno's home, and she invites neighbors to have tea together. This is another example of a seed of connectedness among people that has taken root here. ChildFund also carried out the Fulfilment of Children's Lives project. Children are deprived of space and opportunities to learn and play. The nursery was swept away by the tsunami and is temporarily relocated in the kindergarten on a hillside. The facility was not fit to provide what the children were accustomed to in terms of basic amenities. In order to improve the children's living environment, we decided to support construction of a nursery building. Mr. Jim Emerson, Secretary General of ChildFund Alliance, a global network organization of which ChildFund Japan is a member, attended the handover ceremony of the nursery building to convey the concern and care of the people around the world.
Every child is a precious being and our future leader. With prayers from the world for healthy growth of our children, ChildFund presents this nursery room to Okirai Nursery.
どうもありがとうございます。
なんとか、俺らは我慢すから子供にはいい思い、いいところで過ごしてほしいな、そういうふうに親はみんな願っていました。ですから昨日ちょっとここに子供を迎えに来た時に建物の中を見せてもらいまして感動しました。まさに、この、保育室は、そういう親の願いであったり先生方の願いであったりっていうのが全てこう含まれている素晴らしい建物であるなというふうに昨日本当に思いました。
This is Akasaki Junior High School, which has been relocated to a hillside in the city. The school buildings were devastated by the tsunami, and ChildFund Japan has supported in providing equipment needed for school activities. Mr. Sakamoto, an Ofunato native, encountered the activities of ChildFund at this junior high school he teaches, and at the Okirai nursery his son attends.
初めてこの校舎に入った時に本当にこう感動しましたった。もう物が全て揃っていて、しかも新しいものばっかりで、これがもし津波で流されたやつをもう一回使ってるってなったらば、やっぱ気持ち的にも違うでしょうし、はい。
This is Mr. Sakamoto and his family. Mr. Sakamoto's 3 children are learning the Nembutsu sword dance, a folk dance based on Buddhist belief. The Nembutsu sword dance is inspired by the strong sense of commemoration of those who have passed away. There were times when Mr. Sakamoto's eldest daughter Misaki would cry at night, for her favorite aunt was lost by tsunami. The Nembutsu sword dance has helped Misaki to overcome the grief. ChildFund Japan has been carrying out activities to fulfill children's lives. With such continued support, we believe the chief actors of reconstruction, parents, teachers, and other caregivers like Mr. Sakamoto will find assurance to do their best in rebuilding the damaged communities. The second autumn since the disaster. The time for ChildFund's restoration projects is coming to an end.
There are some difficulties in bringing out a sense of ownership from the residents. A certain period of time was needed to establish a residents' association. In the case of Yu Farm, we anticipated it would make a substantial contribution to community building and temporary housing, but the participants are only 15 out of 800 residents. However, we believe bonding among a group of 15 participants could be strengthened and 2 or 3 groups be formed to gradually build a new community. The seeds of small circle of residents have been firmly rooted. Like small bubbles forming a large bubble, we feel it is possible to build a new community by connecting multiple number of small groups. It is most important that the people of Ofunato feel the future of restoration rests in their hands, and their hometown can only be revived by themselves. And this is what we value the most.
そうですね、一番の収穫ですね。みんなと友達になったのがね。疲れも取りますね、皆さんの声を聞くと。
ましてや私は子供たちにこういろいろ大げさに言えば生き方を教える。
I believe my ultimate goal as a teacher is to guide the children on the way of life. This time, we are supported by people in Japan and around the world. While it is important, the children would develop a sense of resilience and say to the supporters, "Thank you, we are all right now." I would also like our children to have a strong and big enough heart to encourage and be with those who have supported us whenever they are in need of support. Those are the ways of life that we hope the children would take away, and I believe my role is to guide the children in the right direction.
Every child has the right to healthy growth. Children are our future leaders, and each and every child is a precious being. We believe the progress in our projects will be reflected in their healthy growth. With a goal to build a community where people are connected and children are assured of peace of mind. ChildFund Japan pursued the people-centered approach in aiding the restoration projects.